Get him. Got him. Attaboy.
Oh, pretty fish.
Oh! Why the hell are we losing them all?
Oh!
It's exactly what we were looking for.
Dude!
Look at that fish.
Force. Oh, that's a huge one. And it's thrown. Oh, that's a monster.
That's a freaking stud. Get on your leg. Oh.
That was a giant, guys.
What's going on, Marlon? Did you just maybe hook the biggest fish of your life on a bead?
We're getting him, Jordan. We're hitting him.
Oh my God, Marlon.
You cannot complain about an 18-pound steelhead.
Woo, yeah. Woo, that was a freaking pain. Oh my God. Whew. It's a beast.
Got a double.
Look at this perfect specimen.
It's probably one of the most amazing fishing days I've ever had in my entire life.
Get him. Got him. Attaboy.
Oh, pretty fish.
Oh! Why the hell are we losing them all?
Oh!
It's exactly what we were looking for.
Dude!
Look at that fish.
Force. Oh, that's a huge one. And it's thrown. Oh, that's a monster.
That's a freaking stud. Get on your leg.
That was a giant, guys.
What's going on, Marlon? Did you just maybe hook the biggest fish of your life on a bead?
We're getting him, Jordan. We're hitting him.
Oh my God, Marlon.
You cannot complain about an 18-pound steelhead.
Ish.
You started off. Talk about
You're
Bruce.
alive.
Cam.
Huh?
Cam.
What?
You.
What?
It's all you, dude.
Do what?
It's
What
all
are we
you.
doing?
Start off.
Are we live? Is it working?
Pretty sure.
It hasn't switched over, but it
I
could
haven't
just
seen
be
it.
there.
There he is. There we are. Oh my gosh. I think we're live. And I think we're live on both YouTube and Facebook. Thanks to our awesome producer.
Marlon, have you
The nicest thing we're gonna say in a while.
punished Tyler for that hat he wore in the first East Side Grind video yet?
I never saw that.
Oh,
What
the
hat did he
Patag-
wear?
here's one of
He's
Patagonia
wearing
hat.
a Patagonia hat.
Oh my God. Anyways,
get it a
everybody
little bit.
congratulate. I want everyone to give a thumbs up, a shout out to Clint Laurie for doing an awesome job. He got us
Frugal
live.
fan.
We got over 200 of you guys already watching in both feeds there. Let you guys know what the drill goes. Let us know where you're tuning in from. Be sure to like and share this out. If you're on YouTube, you can copy the link to your social feeds. You can text it to your friends. Anything like that. If you're on your phones, if you're on Facebook, share it to other groups besides Addicted Fishing Forum. We got that covered.
Got it.
Yeah.
Thanks for
And
tuning in, guys.
Thanks for tuning in.
We have some big, nice prizes for you tonight. We really want you to, if you guys can do us huge favors and just do everything you can to get this live feed, get this Facebook stream and YouTube stream out into the world. Share it. Tell your friends, tag your friends. Just get them to come hang out with us tonight. We have an Okuma cold water reel that we're going to be giving away. Also a pair of Gerber pliers, and I'm sure there's going to be a few different Hatchery and Wild stickers as well given away throughout the night. So we really, really need you guys to help us here and get involved.
There's going to be a lot of talk about the old Patagonia. In fact, actually, we have a star from the Patagonia film in the studio tonight. He's actually going to be joining us.
So
And I don't just save it. Trust me, you want to talk to this gentleman here. But yeah, we're gonna have a lot of talk about that tonight. Got Hatchery Wild Coexist director Jack Smith in with us, and many other things, and we'll get to that in a minute. But get your questions, get your ready, share this out to your friends. It's extremely important.
And I
guys.
see all you guys are commenting and sharing.
Already.
Thank you so much for doing that.
Share,
if
share,
you didn't
share.
know, we are simulcasting for the first time actually successfully right now. We did it last week.
We'll see how long it lasts.
Yeah, I was gonna. Yeah, if we have a hard time answering some questions, guys, it's because there's a lot of comments today.
There is a lot going through. And with that being
'em-
said,
but
do not
keep 'em
forget,
coming.
if you need to make sure that you want a comment get answered and you want it to pop in front of our face and make sure that we see it, you can use the super chat function on YouTube. It just allows you to donate a little bit of money to the cause and help us continue to do Addicted every single week, and it will highlight your question and we'll make sure that we get it answered for you right away. Or if you just want to throw some money at Jordan because he's sexy, you can do that as
It
well.
would be greatly appreciated. We'll put it towards the cause.
Yeah. Anyway, we appreciate all the super chats that you guys give us every week. It means a lot, and because of that, we've been able to do these things like simulcast on YouTube and Facebook at the same time because Clint's will eventually get a paycheck if you guys keep super chatting.
We might give him that. We might give him the $30.
He's gonna give him a credit for the website.
And we'll give him a pack of worms too.
Ooh, $10 worms.
Hey, those worms catch springers, don't they?
I did today.
Yeah, did he tell you that?
That's
Yeah.
the secret.
Bomber down. We're like, yeah, steelhead. Oh, we don't. Oh,
Everybody at the same time saw the blacktail and all went, because when we were fishing, it's closed for springers. And it was that perfect little eater-sized, it was,
hatchery springer.
we were all like,
You know,
no!
we're grabbing steelhead and we're moving him into brood stock. We're doing our thing. And here it's like the only time we're that disappointed to catch a hatchery springer. We're just
Yeah.
like, eh. But guess what? Into the hatchery truck he went.
Yeah, he went.
In the name of science.
But yeah, addicted worm. Actually, I got a cool little picture of him. I'll show you guys in a second.
That's
Heck
freaking
yeah,
sweet.
pretty fun.
Man, there's lots of YouTube. How many people are on YouTube and how many people are on Facebook? Just comment YouTube or comment Facebook. We can see you guys a little bit, but it just would
Clint
be.
works for liquor.
We'd be curious to know how many people are on YouTube and how many people are on Facebook. That is so
Isn't
sweet.
that cool? I don't know if people could see that on the old camera. Because last time I did it, it didn't work very well. But there you go. You only get a little taste. You can see that big old worm hanging from his mouth. Anyways, yeah, that's a pretty dope little picture.
So like
Oh,
I
it
said,
is.
everyone, we are going to randomly select someone and to win this Okuma Cold Water Low Pro. It's a left hand. It's brand new in the box. It still has the tag from Bob's, $129.99. I actually bought this one.
So why he's got such a
Damn.
great giveaway today, guys, is because the topic we have on hand today is important. And it's important that we get to answer some of your guys' questions, answer some of our questions. We have one of the most knowledgeable men in hundreds and hundreds of miles here with us today to kind of give us a little more of a well-rounded look at what is going on, what this Patagonia movie is really trying to do, what our Hatchery and Wild movement is really trying to do, and answering some of those unsolved questions as to what needs to happen to make sure that our fisheries stay here.
Exactly. And all you guys got to do is just get this out to the universe. Share it to your Facebook groups, your family, your friends. Share it. Just text message it. If you're on YouTube, you can hit that little message button and you can actually send them the live feed direct through messages. Just do that stuff for us and then comment, interact, ask your questions. As Jack, which did we tell them that's who it is?
Yes, we did.
Yep.
Yeah. So as Jack kind of talks, and I'm sure you guys are all going to have a million questions. So make sure you get those questions in, and we are going to randomly select someone to win this Okuma reel tonight. And we will also give away some pliers. And I'm sure I'll
Everybody's loving the left-handed reel.
I think everyone's loving what scent did Jordan use in his hair.
Well, we talked about it in the last Addicted Life. Check it out.
Jesse Copeland, I'm not going to argue with that hashtag at all.
What is it?
Anyways, don't pin that one. I'm sick of springers
already.
Steelhead. Yeah, well, that's another thing. Exciting announcement, though, for you guys that probably don't know, but the Columbia River is open yet again this weekend.
And guess what I'm doing?
Saturday and you're going shed hunting.
I'm going bass fishing.
Oh, that's not a bad idea.
Ooh.
But anyways, the Columbia River will be open from Warrior Rock to Bonneville Dam. All same rules and regulations apply.
Maybe if they put more fish in the
limit.
Columbia, then I'd go in the Columbia. But
Maybe if the visibility wasn't 8 inches, I would go back to the Columbia too. But turbidity will be a challenge this year. In fact, it was so much of a challenge. One of the guys on the meeting today was making fun of the guys that would go out, but then he wanted, because they weren't going to catch anything, but then he wanted to save those fish for a May fishery. So
We got a quick super chat here,
anyways,
Robert.
it's open this weekend for those of you guys go out. Good luck. Yep.
Robert Colby, thank you so much, man, for the super chat. We appreciate it. It looks like you got a question. What's been the hot ticket for trolling springers? Cam, what were you? Herring, obviously?
Cut plug herring, man.
Plug.
It was funny because I got all that great herring from Harbor Herring and
Yeah.
Patrick Gaffney and those guys, and the Point Defiant stuff.
Yeah.
And then I went to go buy anchovies, and they didn't really make the great anchovy that I wanted, so I kind of stayed with herring, and then I kind of started whooping on them kind of early, and kind of before a lot of other boats were whooping on them. So I said, you know what? I'm just gonna
Stick to herring.
Until it bucks me, I'm gonna keep on it. So yeah, that was a cut plug show for me.
So herring, thanks
Herring,
again
guys.
for the super chat, man.
Thank
We
you very
appreciate
much.
it.
Appreciate it. Yep.
All right. Well, looks like we got about 240 watching. So
How
we're gonna.
else can we help Hatchery Wild besides donating money? That's a great question. Justin Bennett Butcher. And I can tell you what, the biggest thing you do is educate your friends, talk about it, get people involved, channel people to the website and the education sources, and spread the word.
And get
Well,
signed
now
up,
that-
get signed up on their email
This-
list, and we'll be talking about that. Clint, I'm sure you got some graphics to throw up tonight to their website and stuff. So we'll
Right
make
along-
sure you guys are doing
But donate too.
Yeah, right along Cam's lines, guys. I'd say that's, even for me lately, that's kind of one thing I've been stressing most is telling this story and getting the real facts out to people that really don't even care. People that don't even fish. Tell them what's happening. Tell them what's happening to the sport.
They don't care until you say, we got to feed the orcas, because
Yeah.
they don't want to see mama push the dead calf around downtown Seattle
Yeah.
for 2 weeks again.
But just get it out there that our heritage, our recreation,
lifestyle.
our sports, our love for our passion for fishing is being threatened more than it ever has been before on a level to where a massive company is trying to take it down. A global company is trying to take away our fish. So it's something that needs to be shared with people, whether they have an invested interest in fishing or not.
I don't want to get into it just yet.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're right. And thank you very much. Was it David? What was his last name? I missed it. The super chat for the salary help for Clint.
David O'Connor.
Thank you.
Thank you,
just
man,
bought.
for the
You
super
just bought Clint a McChicken.
We'll get him. We'll get him one chicken strip next
Get him
week.
one chicken
Hey, I got
strip.
him Panda Express this week. Nice. I got a little yakisobi.
Okay, well, he better
Chicken and
do-
yakisobi.
He better get a few more super chats for yours.
I know. We need to get some more super chats to pay for Clint's Panda.
Thank you very much. We see you guys sharing it, guys. Thank you. Living in Tillamook, but tuned in from Sisters, Oregon. Thank you, Kent, Lebanon, Scappoose. Heck
How
yeah.
many
Good
people?
point there.
I see now our viewership dropped to 257. What the heck, guys and gals? If you're watching and you want an opportunity to win an Okuma Low Pro Cold Water without doing anything, you just need to share this live feed out there and comment on the live feed, and we're going to randomly select someone from the comments to win this reel. And we'll select another person to win some pliers and probably some other stuff. I don't know.
Sal, that's a great question, brother. And no, it is not. Every species of salmon and steelhead can be used in a broodstock format. And it's been proven successful.
We'll talk about those definitions tonight at the start when we get Mr. Jack Smith in here.
Yes, sir.
Just because not all hatchery fish are created equal, and there's a lot of misnomers out there when explaining when you talk about hatchery fish in general that it's not, you can't call them all the same. Like, you just can't. They all some act differently than others. Some are more productive than others. Some are better for situations than others. They're not all hatchery fish are created equal. So we'll be talking about that in depth.
Cool. So now
we're our comments on the right side there, Clint. You know.
It's not.
It's just not scrolling. It's just stuck on that side. Yeah.
Seems
Anyhow.
Yeah, whatever.
Sorry, I have to squint to read the left side. No worries. No worries, guys. Well, is it a good time to maybe go to the break? And then, you guys, when we come back, we're gonna, like I said, we're gonna have Jack Smith from Hatchery Wild Coexist. But just a couple of little background on Jack. He's been guiding since 1978. So this guy would definitely be considered one of us, fishermen. Does the Deschutes and the Tillamook area streams. Founder and board of directors of the North Coast Salmon and Steelhead Enhancement Fund. But for those of you guys that know the Salmon Rendezvous, that's that kind of whole organization that kind of goes down in Tillamook. He's a charter member of the Oregon chapter of CCA and serves as the state president of Oregon. He's also on the he's also the recreational fishing representative to the Oregon Hatchery Research Center. So this guy's obviously been playing these fish games for a while, and he's also been part of the Wilson River Broodstock program since its infancy in 1996? 96. You got it, 96. So when you want to talk to a guy who's been playing the fish advocacy game for you and I and for the fish for well over, 40 years? Yep. Well over 40 years. This is a guy to talk to. We can't wait to talk to him, guys. We're going to roll our trailer for Addicted.
No, we're not.
Forget it. I was segueing
Yeah, because you're doing it wrong. You're doing it wrong.
Go ahead.
It's what were you going to say? Go ahead and
no.
segue it. Yeah. So, how many of you guys out there watching have seen our Addicted Life this last Sunday? Comment yes or no whether or not you have seen Addicted Life. Let us know whether or not you've seen it. We're going to show you guys a little clip of it right now and show you kind of what you're missing out on these Addicted Life episodes. So if you have not subscribed on YouTube, please tap the subscribe button. Every single Sunday we have an episode of these coming out. And when we come back, we're going to have Jack Smith here talking Hatchery and Wild.
Yeah.
Here we go.
Jordan. Yeah, please. What's that everybody with dinner. Hey. Oh, yes! Yes! Dude, that is a tank!
Know all the drill. Wait, I already said that. I want you to subscribe, damn it. I want you guys to subscribe because Marlon's sitting there right before it starts. Subscribe! You guys don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel and obviously on Facebook as well, Addicted Fishing.
Clinton, message me on Facebook or Instagram, whichever one. Jordan Carnegie.
Yeah.
Sorry.
All right, guys, this gentleman standing here. Let's step up to the mic.
Welcome,
Introduce
Jack.
yourself. How's it going?
Good.
You guys see again, all that good stuff?
Yeah, it's good to be here. Good
Thanks
to talk
for
about
joining
things
us
that really
today.
matter.
So today we've got, we've almost got 300 of you guys watching right now between the two feeds. So what we want to do is I want to kind of roll around because, there's been a lot of stuff people are seeing, coming from our friends at the NFS, coming from our friends from Patagonia. They called our 60 million hatchery fish, the hot thing right now is the 60 million hatchery fish that they put in the Puget Sound to feed the orcas. They called them pollution. to feed starving orcas.
Pretty unbelievable.
Pretty unbelievable. That's all you have to say about that?
That's all I can say.
That's all you can say. So why don't you give you a background real fast of, I mean, one of the shining lights in the Northwest, no question, is kind of those broodstock programs that have been going on for many, many years, in the Tillamook area. Do you kind of want to do a quick summary of that and kind of give some of these guys that aren't familiar with like a broodstock program? Because like you said, people are asking about those definitions and kind of just where did how did we get to this from that?
Well, absolutely. I mean, the broodstock programs that we started in Tillamook started with the premise that if you used wild fish for broodstock, that the hatchery product would be better. And so in those programs, every single hatchery fish, their parents were both wild fish. So I mean, my thought was, if hatchery fish can be bad if you keep breeding them into each other, why not do that and start with wild fish and don't go any further unless science says you can. So we started that, and it actually started in '96. If you remember, there was a flood in '96. We got rained out for the whole season, and actually our first collection was in '97. But you had to set the stage. So. Yeah, and it took a while for it to get rolling, but now we have pretty well as good a fishery as there is in the Northwest. I mean, you guys have your ups and downs, but as far as a consistent steelhead fishery for both hatchery and wild fish. Yep, and the other kind of a benefit is instead of it being 2.5 weeks long, it's like from December until April. Right. Which is pretty cool. Right. But even before that, so like you talked about, bringing hatchery fish in and just respawning themselves, right? So you always talked about, 30, 40 years ago, the states, when they started doing these hatchery programs, they had the segregated stocks. Right. And they had the brood stocks. And can you kind of touch on that for some of these people? Because even in Washington, we've had some segregated early run stocks. The Chambers Creek and LC strain stuff too would be considered that, correct? Right. For you guys' neck of the woods. So can you touch on that a little bit? Because, like I said, that's still a hatchery fish. Those broodstock fish you're producing are still hatchery fish. And just like every other organism, it's like if you take a small population of fish and keep breeding them back to themselves, or cows, or anything, their genetics go downhill, and they become less and less successful at being wild. and kind of the way I looked at it when we started the program was, what makes more sense, making hatchery fish as much like a wild fish as possible or as unlike a wild fish as possible? Because when you rebreed them over 40 generations in hatchery, you make them as unlike wild fish as possible. And that's what they did with those chamber stocks. Correct. And those LC stocks. Because those fish were not designed, but those fish were bred to show up early, do their thing, die off, and try not to intermediate, be a segregated stock. Right. And I think what's important is, like some of the earlier studies too. I mean, this is just my opinion, but when they say that they're not as reproductively fit, if there was a way to do a study where you studied wild fish that spawned in December, they wouldn't be very reproductive fit either, because the conditions are terrible. So I mean, there's a reason why most of the population shows up in February. Nature selects for that because it's a better trait, and what we did is we selected for as bad a trait as we could select for. But within that, fish that arrive, with your broodstock programs, you touched on it. Okay, we have a fishery from December till March and April, right? But if you grow that population out enough, you get the sand pile effect. Right. Right. Whereas if you have a little sand pile, you have fish showing up to here. If you have a big sand pile, you have fish showing up earlier and staying later because you have more of them. A small percentage of the population shows up in December and it peaks in March. But the bigger that pile is, the more it spreads out. And so it's super important to have a healthy, good rate of return broodstock program versus some of these segregated stocks. I mean, is that the conclusion there? Or? I mean, that's my conclusion. I mean, it seems like it's way more productive at providing a fishery. And we did, when we started the program on the Nestucca, we did, I believe it was 9 years of real intensive spawning bed surveys and, monitoring. And what we found is the wild broodstock fish returned at a higher rate. It was like as high as 6% some of the years. They strayed at a lower rate. And the reason they strayed at a lower rate is because they appeared in the creel at a much higher rate because they're aggressive and they bite.
Which, for those of you out there that don't know, 6% return is astronomical in scientific terms. You know, each hatchery for the last 50 years has gone under the impression that a 1% return is extremely successful.
Correct.
So when you hear, it doesn't sound like much to most people out there that really don't know what we're talking about, but that 6% is an incredible number.
Astronomical.
That's thousands and thousands of salmon.
Well, and they're, I mean, over those whole 9 years, it was between 3 and 6%. So
Right.
6% was the high.
So even on the down years, it was still
way more than
3. Yeah, I mean they're just more productive. You get a better rate. Real fast, guys. I just want to interject here. We'll talk about Patagonia. Wait, what now? Oh, it was still. Sorry, I read a comment there I didn't catch. But we'll talk about Patagonia in a minute. Sorry.
So one thing I want to ask too, and it's kind of really a question that doesn't need an answer, but the beauty of the broodstock, if I'm not mistaken, is that when you have an angler sustained broodstock program, the genetics that come into the hatchery every single year consistently cannot be the same statistically. The random drawing of fish from hook and line angling cannot be matched with the hatchery system of the fish swimming back into a tank, into a pool, and using that same genetic line year and year again.
Correct.
So that use of that broodstock program has eliminated that genetic variable of the Mozart effect, where you just keep piling them on top of each other. So
and selecting for traits that are conducive to being raised in a hatchery instead of what goes on in the wild.
So let's touch on that real fast, the process, because like take 2 wild fish that are caught in that sport program or caught by a trap or a weir, but you take 2 wild parental fish, you bring them into hatchery and you spawn them. What's the benefit you get out of that versus those 2 fish spawning in the wild?
Well, I mean, from the stuff I've read, the benefit is that you, and some guys would consider this a negative, but you eliminate a portion of the selection process when they were little. Now, if you read what that means, most of the selection process that takes place from the time they're an egg and until it's smolt is what they call random selection, which means the fact that if a kingfisher dives into a school of fish, the one it gets wasn't necessarily worse of an organism. It just wasn't very lucky.
It wasn't lucky.
So you get more out of the same amount of eggs. You get more fish.
So, but isn't there more of them though too? I mean, how successful? If you take those 2 wild fish, you bring them into hatchery, their babies essentially have a better survival rate.
Correct.
Which, like you said, you lose that selectivity of it. But when those fish go out and they come back as hatchery fish, and we don't catch them, so we run in, they run into the gravel, they spawn. Those 2 hatchery fish then now spawned wild fish. Right?
Correct.
So
true genetic wild fish.
I wouldn't necessarily call it true because you had
Are the genes being changed in a concrete pool though? I mean, where's the science? What fish told you that?
Genetics is really complicated.
Okay.
And it's not, they're not being changed in that concrete pool, but you're going to get way down in the weeds where you're talking about epigenetics, which is a gene that flips on and off depending on your environment. But no one ever does a study about what happens when those 2 fish spawn like you're talking about.
Yeah.
And then they spawn in the wild and their progeny come back. Have all those genes flip back in place? How long does it take them?
Yeah, because I mean, you took the wild fish, you gave them a shot in the arm because instead of only having what's just for in the wild, what is an egg to smolt survival rate for? Oh, it's a good egg.
It'd be pretty small.
I thought it was like something that could be like 15% even. Yeah. Like that's just a smolt. That's not smolt to adult.
Right.
Right. So you have the weeding out process. So you get to put more fish in. Right. Those fish come back. They spawn in the gravel, but then you get that selection process there. That also, when those fish come back, they're passing on true wild genetics. I mean, you don't have this over and over and over and over. You hit the reset button.
Correct.
And there's been studies that have proven by letting those fish, if we miss them as anglers or we miss them as hatchery collection, that if they do spawn in the gravel, they don't have such a detrimental effect.
The effect would be way less.
The effect would be way less, if any, versus having some of those fish that have been spawned 5 and 6 times in a hatchery and then escaped.
Right.
I mean, that's the whole the PHOS argument, correct?
Right. And yeah, it is. And on wild fish, actually, if you read HSRG literature, I mean, if you got 100% wild broodstock that you're using, you could actually have 30% stray rate and still be safe.
Still be safe.
Even by their caution their cautious standards, you'd still be safe.
And their cautious standards, guys, is basically like whenever we make a hatchery fish anywhere, we need to kill those fish. Essentially,
that's the point of it.
That's the point of it. Like, they don't necessarily, believe it or not, our hatcheries aren't necessarily meant to put a whole bunch of fish into gravel and then to reduce those runs.
Well, let me make a quick point. And what we mean by that is commercial, gill nets, sea lions, sport anglers. Like, those fish are going to die. And the point of them is to be harvested by many natural elements and sport elements and commercial elements. So not having them there only does one thing. Eliminates more wild stock.
And I would say,
it puts pressure on the wild stocks.
Providing that abundance while doing as little harm as possible to the wild population would be the goal.
I'm getting that. I only saw the bottom line of that, Nick. I didn't see it all. Let's see here, guys. So when a hatchery fish breeds in the wild, how long would it take for the offspring to start genetically going to more wild genes? But what kind of hatchery fish did you start with? Did you start with a hatchery fish that was one of those early returning Chambers Creek that's been spawned over 4 or 5 times, or was it one of these broodstock fish? See, it's a very different definition.
Chances are those other hatchery fish aren't very successful at spawning because, for one reason, they usually acclimate them somewhere where the habitat's terrible.
Yeah.
They stock them in the lower river. There's a whole bunch of reasons why they don't spawn successfully, besides the fact that they're not as fit.
They're not as fit.
So that's a good question, Phil Hildebrandt. He asked how much effort and money is needed to bring the hatcheries up to par to produce these wild stock or these wild brood stocks. He says right now in Washington there's $30 million pushed towards hatchery fish. What's needed?
Yeah, I don't know if I have that answer.
Yeah, it's a great question. I think a lot of it is more even vocal support. More people knowing about hatchery fish and how the system works.
And like our systems in Tillamook, there wasn't a whole bunch of more money needed because it was a largely a volunteer effort. There's a little bit more trouble holding them because they don't come in and spawn in this short time period. So you got to hold them longer in the ponds, but the ponds are running anyway. It's like I don't know how you'd really.
Basically, what he's saying is
the point of the guy's question.
Yeah, everything's in place already.
How much more is really needed? Are we getting the bang for our buck we're already putting in?
Well, I fished we was out with Kevin Gray the other day, and I was hitting him. I was asking him a few questions on the system we were fishing on the numbers of fish that are put in these selective areas, and the amount of effort and time and money that is put into those fish, and the amount of fish that they're putting there is nearly null and void. I mean, literally, it's job security for the state because they're not going to get any more fish back. With the effort that they're allowed to do, that's as many fish as they're allowed to put in the river. But if you look at the numbers and you look at the size of the river and the dynamic of the river, the dams, the pressure, the location in the state, those fish don't have a chance at that small of a stock.
Well, and recreation anglers are really willing to fund that kind of projects. I know, you mentioned the rendezvous that we do at Tillamook, and we literally raise between 50 and I think highest was $150,000 every year, and most of that goes to funding different infrastructure changes or pumps or whatever for the broodstock program. So it's not a huge amount.
So one thing I want to get out of the way too that we haven't mentioned about this whole hatchery dispute. Guys, there are, and I've said it before in our last live feed on these hatchery talks, these broodstock talks, we don't believe, all three of us standing here, everybody in this room don't believe that there should be a hatchery fish in every piss trickle of water in this state, in this part of the West Coast. That is not true. There's areas that can sustain wild stocks, that have intact habitat, but the amount of places that need these hatchery fish and need these broodstock programs is unsurpassable. It can't be ignored. So for those of you out there that think every single stream, every single little ditch should have a hatchery fish in it, that's not what we're saying. What we're saying is there's key places and there's key areas in these Oregon, Washington, California, Idaho that need to have these hatchery fish and need to have the right kind of hatchery fish. The hatchery fish that gentlemen like this have worked on over years and years and years and seen those reproduction rates and seen the success in that return. So don't be mistaken that we think everything needs a hatchery, but there's places in this world that heck, some of the spots we go to in Alaska, they get some of the largest steelhead runs in the world, and creeks right adjacent to them get 200 steelhead. doesn't seem like a lot. It'll never get more. It'll never get less. That's how many fish that river can hold. So I'm not saying that that particular spot in the world needs another 100,000 smolts because that system is intact. That's what it needs. But there's so many insufficient fisheries within 100 miles of us that don't have a chance. These fish do not have a chance.
And Brian Cliff, one thing I always say is ocean harvest, water temperatures, and I can't remember your other thing is the key to fish returning. And it absolutely is the key to fish returning. But within that, yeah, thank you, Clint. Water temp, spawning habitat, ocean harvest is the key. It absolutely is the key. However, when your starting points are so low that when you have a bad year because of those conditions, it really hurts.
It's like starting at a quarter tank and going on a road trip.
Right. You want to start at that full tank and go on the road trip. So give yourself the best chance for success because even within your broodstock program, on the Wilson, you still have your ups and down years, but your down years definitely don't hit as hard as like.
No, I mean this year was a down year.
I know Dick Popov caught plenty of fish down there during
we caught plenty.
Plenty.
But look at Quinault.
Well, yeah, I mean, on a down year, 9,000 steelhead, gill net it 6 days a week, and catch 60 fish. And
What's your opinion on the Quinault? Do you think it will collapse on itself?
No, but I don't think. I don't think that's a fair to hold that up to.
That's kind of the extreme. It's kind of the extreme end of it. Would you?
Because I don't think that we're ever going to stock 15 million fish in East Fork of the Lewis, or in a stream that size. It would be good.
What was the highest they stocked? So you were giving me some numbers too, like some of the. What was
it? In the late 70s on the Nestucca, they used to stock 350,000 Alcee strain fish, and there was several. Almost every year they harvested over 10,000. And one year it was, I think the high was 16 or 17,000.
Harvest
17,000.
Yeah. That's
think about that, guys and gals.
And that was on the start of the Alcee strain though too.
That was in the Alcee strain. Yeah.
Cam, can you before you continue on explain why we're talking about river names? I've already seen it multiple times.
Oh yeah, guys, river names in this discussion. This is not a report-based driven thing. Some of these river names have to be used as reference, and the work that Jack has done on some of these rivers is
they deserve
a shining light and. We're not going to do reports, no techniques. We're not, this is
about the fish.
This is severely about the fish and the education that, kind of what's been going on. So it's important. And so, yeah, we're kind of letting that go for today. It's our rules, so deal with it. I wanted to answer this, so I can't really see that now. We need to stop the groups who are attacking the hatcheries. We're spending too much time and money defending them in court instead of production. How do we want to talk about that?
We definitely do. I don't know how. I mean, lawsuits are expensive. Defending lawsuits are really expensive. One of the ways is we could push, like most of the lawsuits that are put forth, they're put forth because someone didn't do the paperwork, and so we've got to kind of make sure that we do the paperwork.
Little gotcha by the guys that are sitting in their offices and not fishing all day, huh?
Right.
Yeah.
So I don't know. That is a big issue.
Yeah, I think the crucial part, we've talked about this a lot, I've repeated myself multiple times, but, with all the clash and all the clutter and the noise out there right now about this whole subject, what I don't want to see, especially in the position that we all are now, is for, the third or fourth time in my short lifetime here fishing, have a private interest group come in, say all these things about what's happening in our fisheries, make moves to change that, and have all of us sportsmen sit in the background and go, that's not true.
Even though,
and then go back to the river. What are we doing here, honestly, at some point? So, why the importance of this is so large as Hatchery and Wild Coexist is because we might finally have the leg to stand on here. Somebody to stand behind, to push science, and to not just sit in the garage with your light beer telling your buddy about how you think things should be. This is an opportunity for people to really step in and make a change. So,
one of the key bullet points too of this Hatchery and Wild campaign, guys, and for those of you guys that don't know, we need you guys to go over to www.hatchery-wild-coexist.com. Every time I say that, Marlon's just cringes at the name. I understand. At the web address. We'll work on that. But that's where it's at right now. It's also on Facebook, guys. Go over there. There's a lot of great educational pieces and sources on there. And then you also can register for their email list and their names. And eventually there's going to be a membership drive. But these guys right here are also building war chest. And we've already had some kind of inner meeting talks about funding, basically some economic studies that basically are what was being actually produced by a hatchery fish being put in the water, like breaking it down into some of those levels, and then also presenting
what that means to the economy. The legislators are really interested in hearing that.
The legislators are really interested in hearing that, because when it comes to legislatures, we know jobs and money. And guess who tells our state departments to do what?
Voters.
The voters and the legislators. So there's a couple things in there too that we're working on. But like I said, this program, this campaign started what? We had 4 months ago.
At the sports show, February.
Sportsman show.
Yeah, that's when it was kicked off.
Right.
At the sportsman show.
So one thing is that as we kind of go on through the year, you're going to see a lot more stuff on this. You're going to see a lot more talk about this campaign. But this is a marathon. I think a lot of people want us to go out there and just stick it to the man, and it's like, what, we need to build the base. So we need you guys, all almost 350 you guys out there right now. We need you guys to go out and share this out. Make sure that people are going to the webpage. Tell your parents, tell your kids, tell everybody, your coworkers, your friends. Start getting some focus here, because the narrative on what's going to feed orcas, provide robust fisheries, and give us our wild fish back is right here. This is what you tell them.
And while you're doing that, like and share this out there.
Yeah, because we're going to talk Patagonia in a minute.
Yeah, like and share it out there, guys. We're giving away this cold water reel, okay? So like, share this out there, comment with a question below. We're going to randomly select throughout this live feed again this sexy little cold water stainless steel reel.
Curtis Youngren, you need to find ways. What's that?
It is now. It is now.
What happened? No, I missed it.
He's getting all technical on me.
It's not the stainless
whatever,
one, because
guys.
Marlin's cheap.
Once again, you guys saw Jordan in the episode wearing his waders. He doesn't fish big water.
He doesn't understand. His big reel's too complicated. One thing I did see is where did it go? Need to find ways to spread the word outside the fishing community, guys. Trust me, if it wasn't for Addicted Alaska 2, we would be working on. We've got some content, some media working down the pipes right now, and we would love to be able to present the case too in video format. That would be easy to share with your friends. It's coming. It's all in the works, guys. Please like, share, and support Hatchery Wild Coexist.
Well, and educate yourself on some of these studies too. I know some of the more extreme avid anglers that I know have read and gone through almost every one of these studies that guys like Jack have been involved with, and notes and data that these hatcheries and the dam companies have had to keep track of for years. So
you see that broodstock wild coexist? I like that a little. That's not a bad idea. Yeah. Shared to the entire NorCal fishing groups, trying to spread the word. Thanks you, Josh Price. Because this is definitely a trickle down fit. Because once these precedents are set in these regions and we're finding success, it's real easy to be like, okay, take your feel good science, take it all out, and just look at where the successful fisheries are occurring right now. And tell me they've probably got one of two things in common: habitat or a broodstock program. Would you argue that?
Both are real critical.
Both are extremely critical. And last I checked, all those guys sitting in that office down in downtown Portland, they ain't doing anything else to get rid of Portland and that municipality of Tigard, Eugene, the Willamette Basin, every house up and down every stream in the river, right? But they want to get rid of hatchery fish. So, as being a star, Mr. Jack Smith here actually starred in Patagonia film Artificial. Would you like to elaborate on that?
Let me explain myself.
Don't shoot him yet. Don't shoot him yet.
Well, I was,
dude, start at the beginning. How were you approached?
I had a friend who worked at Patagonia that actually.
Is he still your friend?
Yeah, I took him fishing when he was 12.
Oh, okay.
And he called me and said that they were going to do a film about hatchery and wild, and that he thought I should be involved. And I go, well, first of all, what are you guys, crazy? Because no matter what, you sell outdoor equipment. No matter what, you're going to piss off half the people
that whole pissing off half the sportsmen. Yeah, all right. Yeah, this guy's smart.
He goes. Well, yeah, but he goes. They're going to do the film, and what happened was their owner went somewhere up in the Olympic Peninsula and went fishing with some of the wild fish guys and bought into their stick, And he goes, they're going to do the film, and somebody's got to tell the other side. So
You mean a gear guy must have caught a fish in front of him? So
Oh yeah, they swung the run for 3 hours, and a bobber guy went bink and got
Make
one.
sure you say thank you, because I'm noticing people are already saying that they're donating. Like they're going
Oh yeah, and if you guys are doing it, thank you so
Sorry to
much.
interrupt you, Jack.
Sorry guys. So anyways, so the leader, fearless leader, went up.
So, well, I mean, it actually took almost a year for the guy contacted me back and forth, the filmmaker, he's an award-winning filmmaker. And finally he came down and fished one day in Tillamook and then spent about...
Fished in Tillamook with you?
With me, yeah. And spent about 2 hours, maybe longer than that, interviewing me. And then that got cut into about 5 minutes in the film. But it came off, I told the side about... Hatchery fish aren't the problem, that it's habitat, and we kind of took and saw, houses along the rivers and forested watersheds being logged, and I mean, you can't take hatchery fish and think it's going to fix that stuff. So the part that I was in, I thought turned out well. The rest of it was junk.
The rest was a joke. So the part you were in was still 5 stars.
Yeah.
I thought it was great.
Yeah, I thought.
I think they should have edited it more down to about 5 minutes.
Edited the whole film to your 5 minutes.
Yeah.
It would have been great. So what were they trying to throw around there? I mean,
tell your award-winning filmmaker that Addicted's going to make a film that's going to make his look like trash.
well,
Yeah.
I just know all you guys are gonna like it.
Yes,
That's all I can say to
we're
that.
counting on it.
Yeah. So why? So okay.
I mean, the question he was at, and it kind of comes through in the title, artificial. It's like, he kept asking me stuff like, why have you lost faith in nature? Well, why isn't nature? Why can't and
Why have you lost faith in nature? That's not the question you should be asking. The question you should be asking is, well, what are you
what I told
doing
him,
as a human being? I'm pointing at you, Charles, living in the Northwest, doing.
Dude, I recycle.
he's from California.
I mean, like, I get it. Like, I want wild fish. You want wild fish.
Well, that's what I told him was basically, I haven't lost faith in nature. You guys have destroyed nature everywhere. I mean, you built all of us.
Right.
We've built our homes in the estuary habitat. We log the forest to make our houses. We drink the water out of the rivers. It's like
you have Portland,
you have Portland,
said.
which is estuary habitat, by the way.
right?
It was pristine estuary
Yeah,
habitat.
it's floodplain. Yeah. I mean, like, so you have all these areas, and so instead of this big $600 million a year company, by the way, giant conglomerate looking at the big picture and saying, okay, we could spend money on habitat restoration, which is you and I both know is the key, is one of the keys. We could spend money maybe going after a dam or two. I'm going to throw out, I could insert 50 other different things that you could actually spend some money on versus taking out hatchery fish, which
Are the symptom, not
which are the symptoms of the problems, but not the problem. It's the symptom of the problem because we put hatcheries because we lost the fish.
The whole habitat dispute just kills me.
I don't get
You
it.
can't tell me
Stupid.
that putting a bunch of pilings and some old growth stumps from a clear cut in a river is going to bring back wild fish. That's not habitat rehabilitation.
It's a
Habitat
step.
rehabilitation
You
is
know how many
thousands and millions
they have
of
spent on the East Fork of the Lewis River, millions upon
No.
millions, and I will watch it. Literally, they'll spend $4 million the next year. The river will just blow right through the habitat that they built. It's just insane.
Yeah.
It's insane.
Every river, we talked about this today when me and Cam were on the river. Every river I've ever been to
Our questions.
in different parts of the world, when you float down these rivers that are undisturbed and unlogged and untouched, you float through these areas and the old growth forest, the wood, the natural aspect of how the river has built itself is completely intact. There's giant old growth stumps that have been in the bottom of the river for 300 years that are creating habitat, that are things that humans cannot duplicate. There's no way over the next 1,000 years that we could make a river the way it was when we showed up.
Right. So instead of taking your hands off and saying, okay, wild fish, do your thing, even though we've messed up everything around it. I mean, would you rather die trying? Like, that's kind of how I say it. Like,
Well, and-
I don't want to, like what Dave always loves to say, and I don't know if he got it from you or whatever. I don't want to be looking at these things in a museum 20 years from now.
that's exactly what's going to happen.
And my
I mean,
biggest
if we don't change this.
Right.
Yeah. My biggest fear of this, and I mentioned it's a little bit of a left-wing theory, but it's one that I've accumulated over years of talking with extremely knowledgeable individuals and well-traveled individuals. But and I mentioned this outside before we started the live feed. The west coast of the United States and the west coast of British Columbia and Alaska are the last free entertainment, free, basically the only places in the world that you can go and do this kind of thing for free. For a minuscule amount. You go buy your license, you go out and enjoy the outdoors. It's free recreation, it's uncontrolled. You know, what you see everywhere else in the world, on the east coast of the United States, in so many places in Sweden, France, all Europe, Spain, if you want to go fishing, you pay for it. You don't get to just go down to the river with your rod and reel and your kid. You have to be a member of a club. And guess who owns these clubs? Patagonia. And the guys that are affiliated. And all the the 1% of wealth in the world is taking as big an effort as they can to jump into place here and take the last bit of free recreation and heritage that we have on the Northwest. You know, and that's my biggest fear with this. And the outlying and the end at the end of the day.
Jordan, I think Cameron can even expand on that a little bit because he's seen some stuff happening in the back end where user groups have come in and tried to like create their own little groups, you know, like basically implementing fly fishing only. I don't know if it was Red's Fly Shop or whatever you told me who was basically rallying.
No, I mean, under the guise of conversation, no, that was over in Idaho. That was over in Idaho, that group that was basically suing because some paperwork wasn't filed on that Snake River situation. I was talking to some of the guides over there, and they basically said that these guys would not come in and do the lawsuit if we went, and if you took those fisheries and you went, no boat, no bank, or no boat, no bait, single point barbless. And like I said, I don't want to turn this into a fly fishing.
I love fly
because
fishing.
I don't really care. Like there was another couple guys up there commenting like, we don't need just the fishing guides to do this. I'm like, no, we don't. Like this is anybody who has this campaign, and this is anybody who has a vested interest in wanting to see a salmon or steelhead return to the Northwest, whether it's to feed a sea lion, feed a fisherman, or giant point coming here, Patagonia, feed a damn orca. Because for those of you guys, do you have that? You don't have that hatchery. The hatchery correlation number and the orca population graph number, do you? Clint?
I can probably work
See,
on
you work on that because basically at the end of the day, you want to elaborate a little bit on that?
On the orcas?
Yeah.
They don't eat hatchery fish. That's what I read.
They don't eat hatchery fish.
They don't
Well,
have
that's
any
because you don't put it
nutrients.
in, so they don't eat any hatchery fish.
Did you notice that all those hatchery springers you caught this year, they didn't have any nutrients? Like, you didn't even poop after you ate them? It was crazy.
They were terrible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nothing, Cam? Really? You didn't like that joke?
I didn't. I'm sorry. I read a great comment. What was that? I'm sorry. Read it. Do it again.
I said, did you notice how all the hatchery springers you caught this year had zero nutrients? And like you didn't
Yeah.
even poop after you ate
I
them?
don't
or
care
anything?
what they say, but
The
you look
girls
like...
got used to eating them. We put millions upon millions
Exactly.
upon millions of hatchery fish in the rivers for years, and then we just took them all away.
And guess what happened?
guess
They
what
died.
It's gonna happen.
Yeah.
It wasn't 3 or 4 years after those hatchery plants started going down. Guess what started going down? The orca population. They started starving. Like this year was the first year I read a statistic that since 2015 a calf actually lived 1 full year out of that southern resident killer whale population. I couldn't believe that. I mean, they're dying. They are freaking dying. They got pictures of them from the air like 5 years ago when they were like this, or 10 years ago, and now they're like this. They're skinny. Like, I mean, and guess what? The Federal Orca Task Force comes out and says, if you do not plant 50 more million Chinook smolts in the Puget Sound, or within those lanes that are coming through, because I think some of that's moving to the Columbia,
yeah.
because the timing kind of expands how when those Chinook are present in their area. At any rate, if you do not do that, they're dying. They're dying. That's how you fix the
They're going
problem.
extinct.
And NFS comes out and calls them pollution. They call them pollution. The 60 million smolts that we have projected to plant in pollution. You're going to starve orcas because, and I get it, like you want those wild fish to be there, but until you fix all those intrinsic problems of dams, municipalities, the pollution, the development, you're not going to get the wild fish, and you're going to lose your orcas in the process.
So, Jack,
That makes sense to anybody? I mean, just clue me in here, guys.
Is it true that Trout
crazy.
Unlimited is the only hope we have?
they're part
I
of...
don't know about that.
I thought
one,
they were
but-
part of Native Fish Society.
They are. That's
Yeah.
why I want you guys
I-
to call out these comments. Don't let people believe
I'm not.
no.
Look, I'm trying to like engage Mr. Awesome Jack Smith here and read comments that I can't do it
It's
that
hard to
fast.
do.
So call him out for me, Marlon. Call him out. Just
What am I looking for
Let 'em
again,
know
Cam?
the trout.
no, you're good now, bud.
Killer whales and what?
There's a green and red barred graph. It's a graph. Let's see if I can find it. Anyways, next question. Sorry, guys. Wait, I saw Ricky said, go back, scroll me up there for a second. Yeah, let's see here, because I saw someone like, well, you got to back that up with science, and I'm like, let's talk about the science. Do you have the graphic of the science studies? And Jack can really elaborate on that, which is great. Do you have the one of the positive, the negative effect, and the no effects?
I can get it. Stand by.
So let's talk about a little science.
Well, I have a hint about science because you said that it's really hard. I mean, you read a study and it's in Scientese, so there's an abstract and then there's conclusions and discussion. and you can, you can't make heads or tails of it. You have to read it 10 times to see what they're saying. But if you read just those parts, the discussions and the results and the abstract, you can kind of get a gist of what the study says. And then if you want to go further, you can. But
Now I have a quick question. What do you see benefit? I know some of the limiting factors in a lot of the areas that I fish are, and one that's been stressed to me multiple times by some of the officials, is that the steelhead in those areas and or salmon are still placed on the endangered species list. Some of which, in my personal record, what I've seen, nearly shouldn't be. They shouldn't be there. The fish are doing well. They are spawning. They are reproducing, and they are in a healthy population. And I think a big stronghold against Hatchery Wild Coexist is that Endangered Species Act. The law of the land, something that really you can't push forward without those things changing. What is the possibility of changing that endangered species listing on some of these areas? Is it a possibility?
I think anything's a possibility. I think you got to be careful. What you do, but I think probably most everybody, if you'd have said we could get sea lions culled 10 years ago, you'd say that's impossible.
Exactly.
So and it's going to be, it would be that same kind of heavy lift, but
would that be beneficial? Do you think in some areas? Do you think that stops a lot of this this progression with the broodstock programs?
Yeah, it does. It definitely limits it.
Yeah.
In Tillamook, our fish aren't listed.
Right.
The only fish listed on the Oregon coast are ocean coho.
What's that, Cam?
I see it. I'm going to go.
What's up, Cam?
Oh, sorry. So real fast, Ricky Simmons, because they're inferior genes that don't make it through generations. What's the actual science nullifying those hatchery genes on the gravel? I think it's because you're not starting with those terrible hatchery genes to begin with.
Right.
You're taking wild in-basin genetics that have survived on their own. You're giving them a shot in the arm by bringing them to hatchery. So for one generation, the fish go out. I see Ricky Simmons there, and I don't understand how you get rid of the hatchery genes. I'm like, well, I would rather. What was the buffalo and the cow statement, right? If you start with a buffalo and you spawn a buffalo. Spawn a buffalo.
I didn't do that.
You spawn a buffalo. But if you start with cows, you end up with cow. Well, I think within these hatchery systems, if you start with broodstock, if you start with buffalo, you're going to have a lot better chance of getting more buffalo back.
Correct.
It's your starting point.
And if you again, HSRG Science says that they actually say you use 50%, but they recommend 30% as a safety factor. But they recognize that they're a way better stock and they do less genetic harm. And it's all dependent on how many. The idea is to infuse more wild genes into the hatchery program than you are infusing hatchery genes into that wild program.
Right.
And so the wild, the flow has to be from wild to hatchery, not the other way.
No, okay, that makes perfect sense. Yep. So, wait. So how? No doubt broodstock is better, but I'm wondering why those genes from the rearing pond go away. Well, I think when those fish go out, they come out, they go survive, they go to gravel, and basically those two fish that come up and dump their genes in the gravel, now you have a selectability situation there.
It all starts over again. Plus, it's like, I don't know that there's a study that would say that rearing ponds cause, you know what I mean? It's like,
no, I think I understand what he's saying. I think he's just asking, well, how do you nullify that?
It changes the next generation.
I think the idea is you start your starting points a lot better,
and you don't go down the slope,
right? Because within the broodstock program, there's been situations where you guys have pulled clipped fish, right?
On the
So, yeah.
on the Wilson, I think not down there, no.
Not down there though. Okay, never mind then. I
But
misspoke.
like on the Clackamas and on the Sandy and
Oh, that's where I heard
some
that
of those
from.
programs they do.
So like in desperate times, they've even used
Desperate
one
times and
parental
then-
generation off.
In order, like you were talking about the ESA, in order for you to do a broodstock program on an ESA listed stock, you have to get a take permit. So when you get those wild fish and take them into the hatchery, it's just like you caught them. I mean, you have to have allowed to take, and so they're limited in how many they can use.
Yeah. So a good friend of mine, Keith, asked, well, what about the carrying capacity of the rivers? I think you kind of overcome that because the river that him and I both really, really enjoy fishing is only 12 miles long. And so, you have limitations due to dams, due to, these other, weirs and culverts and stuff. So you've that carrying capacity of the river has been a lot smaller, but you can amplify that with a hatchery production
If
broodstock
you
program.
that list of studies that show different effects, there was a study called Lister study. Brent
The
Lister.
Brent Lister study, Keith.
Yeah, and look at that, and what he found. I think he studied 6 different rivers, and they were rivers where they got actual counts of wild fish and hatchery fish. And what he found is if a river was at carrying capacity, the hatchery fish added abundance, and it stayed at carrying capacity. If they were below carrying capacity, they brought it up to carrying capacity.
So give him a shot on the arm.
That's what his study.
What kind of hatchery fish?
There was winter steelhead. There was a
No, I mean, was it a broodstock program or was it like
I
a?
think it was both.
Oh.
I'd have to look back and
I mean, there's no doubt because him and I both growing up.
Well,
we
if
know.
we're
We
talking
both
in
know.
this
We both
study-
know. Hold on a second. We both know, like for a fact, that even Marla knows this too. Like how many? They dumped 260,000 hatchery fish in a river that didn't have a hatchery on it for 30 years,
Well, like what he's saying too.
and a lot of them made it to gravel.
Talking the big D word, the Warm Springs tribes and the Yakima tribes were the first entities, other than yourself, to implement broodstock programs. I remember when I was a young kid, they were doing it on the Hood River because ODFW was involved. They were at Punch Bowl, and the tribe was there with the truck, hook and lining fish and passing them up, and that was like that first generation of broodstock program. I remember it was the Big Rays, the Big Rav, as I was growing up as a young kid out in Central Oregon. And so for that being said, those broodstock fish making their way up, I saw a couple of comments on here, what happens when those fish spawn with the unclipped fish. That's what we're eliminating here, is that factor of any kind of degradation of the genetics by those broodstock fish coming up and spawning with a wild fish in the gravel.
Correct.
So, what's going on, boys?
Sorry, had that poor bush out there. Needed. Okay, let's see your guys go. Yeah.
No, I did. We just finished.
He
Yeah.
just talked.
Okay, so oh boy, sorry guys, I had to
in
disappear there for a half second. Let's see here, where are we at, Marlon? All our shares, likes, contests, what's going on there? We had a good chill point for
Let's
them.
give those Gerber pliers away.
All right,
You gonna give me the
guys.
pliers?
We teased you with the reel. We're gonna give you some pliers. So, Clint, let's randomly select somebody here.
Oh, that's right.
I'm gonna jump in and be salesman because these guys aren't good at it. These pliers
Terrible.
are the shit, and if you do not think that they are, I don't know what planet you're living on. No, seriously, we love these pliers. We've been using them for a while. They came out with a saltwater version now. Gerber, sorry, I'm choking on my chicken here. Gerber is spending a lot of time like getting into the fishing world, and they are excited to like keep developing and making fishing products for anglers, especially in the Northwest, because they are in Oregon right in our backyard. So super cool. These pliers are badass. Hopefully one of you guys enjoys them when you win them. Clint, you want to pick someone?
Working on it.
Oh, okay, I'll just stay in here then.
Let's keep those questions coming, guys. I really like the topics that are getting shot here. Some left wing and right wing questions. So that's really what we want here. We want it to get as controversial as possible.
Clint, we're gonna, now that we're on YouTube and Facebook at the same time, like I'm not gonna give away 2 sets of pliers. So make sure you randomize.
Oh, don't be cheap, what the heck?
I can't. I just need to pick one out of our. It's a combined list of comments, and we're
Yeah, we
picking
can see
one
them all.
out of it.
We get Wade Cameron Black's personal set.
Here we go. This is the winning comment from earlier in the feed.
Is it
Kyle Dickey?
Kyle Dickey? you won yourself a set of Gerber fishing pliers. Kyle Dickey, thanks so much. All you guys that have shared this out there and commented and stayed engaged with us, we really appreciate it. Make sure you keep doing it and make sure you stay with us. I see there's about 350 of you still watching, so we are going to be selecting someone to win this Okuma reel, and we're going to throw in a couple Hatchery and Wild stickers with it, and we'll make sure we throw in a couple Hatchery Wilds with these Gerber pliers as well.
Did you tell them who to email and what to say when you won?
Orders@addicted.fishing. Please email orders@addicted.fishing, Kyle, and we will get these. Just give us your address, your shipping address, and Mike will ship them out to you.
Way to go.
Yeah.
Kyle Dickey, one happy guy.
We still have to give away a reel, though. Who's getting a reel?
We still got a reel to give away for sure.
Clint Laurie had a sweet comment.
Clint Laurie?
Yeah.
Who is that?
Nice.
Oh, that's Gordon Frugal.
I heard he's single.
All right, you ready to jump back in, Cam?
Sure, I will.
Are we paused on comments here?
No.
Yeah, I think we lost our comments.
Yeah,
there,
we
Clint.
did.
So,
Clint.
all right, guys, keep commenting out there. You know, Jack Smith drove a long way out here to be with us tonight. We want to take full advantage of it. So,
Let's talk one thing I saw commented way early on in this. Let's talk about King of the Reach a little bit.
that's a good question because I did see what you were talking about earlier as far as, you know, we have to be moving the wild genetics into our hatchery programs, not the other way, not our hatchery genetics into the wild. That's one thing that's kind of a little kind of unknown misnomer about the King of the Reach. I think a lot of people think that it's going and getting all these wild fish to put in there, but it's to start getting things in line so they can still put out as many hatchery fish as they can. It's to collect.
Right,
Those
and
wild
they collect
fish.
a huge amount. I mean, it's really
I think
successful.
they got like 1,500 fish or something this year, I thought.
It
What? How many fish were at King of the Reach this year, guys? It was a huge beatdown. I think they stopped taking people because the second and third day got too busy.
It was real successful.
Yeah. Yeah. Can't wait.
And once again, the randomizer messed with all of our fans. We literally, Kyle won last week.
No, he
I
did.
swear. That's how you guys know that it's random, because we were literally just randomly, and I just yelled at Clint.
No, I was here. I would have.
Yeah. I just yelled at Clint and told him, way to go, Clint, once again.
No,
It's random!
that wasn't. I watched it. I watched it. I was like, okay, yeah, you want? Give it to him.
Whatever, it's fine.
Some guys are lucky.
Congrats, Kyle.
Congrats, Kyle. That's pretty.
It's like when you see those dudes that
The
win.
biology
Will you,
ticket,
will you hit the randomizer thing again and make sure that it doesn't come up Kyle Dickey? Because I think he's hacked us. He's hacked us. He's hacked
Watch
fishing
him
addicts.
win the reel.
He's
Yeah.
probably not
Yeah.
even watching right now.
He'll
Yeah.
probably win the reel, too.
Yeah, we caught 55 out of our boat. Heck yeah. Yeah, what was the total
that at
catch
the
for
Reach?
King of the Reach?
I read
1,207
the whole
it
report,
says
but I
right
What was
there.
it? 1,207 fish.
Brandon
Damn.
Aga super chatted.
Brandon, I can't see the super chat.
He said, when are we going to have a meetup where we can show these politicians how big a group we are?
Ooh.
I saw that earlier.
That
like,
is such a...
It's a good idea.
So here's the deal, guys. I'm going to be honest because for the last 5 years with Marlon and I within Fishing Addicts, people have always said, when are we going to go and raise our signs and just go and raise hell, right? You know, go to some meeting or go... Here's the story that I have for that. There was another group that said that they were going to do just that. The state managers from Washington saw that they were going to do it. It was up in the Puget Sound. And they saw, oh boy, there's going to be a contingent of angry individuals showing up here. Oh, we better get. They actually moved the meeting, rented out another place to hold it. Thought there was going to be this giant crowd of sportsmen showing up, and 6 people showed up. And at the end of the day, it didn't. It really shedded a terrible light on us. Because we all get behind our keyboards right now. I do it too. Everybody does it, and everyone thinks they're going to do something. Everybody wants to do something. Everybody wants to go and get them. But you know what? The first time we do that and you guys don't show up, we'll never get to do that again. Because then everyone will be like, oh, no one showed up for the first one. Why would we do the second?
right.
There is going to be a time and place for that. It will be within this campaign. I don't think it's going to be like we're going to be tipping cars and lighting stuff on fire. But there will be a time for that. I do think there is going to be, but it's unfortunately not right now because I'll just say it. sportsmen are lazy.
Yeah, although they're coming around. I mean, I like.
I'm not going to disagree with that. But
You mentioned about the CCA, and we just had a deal in Oregon where we sent a notice out to a bunch of people. We didn't say how many people were going to show up. We got the opposite thing happen. It was like 150 people showed up. They had to get 2 extra rooms, and it ended up. We're going to get 5 new Fish and Wildlife commissioners out of it.
that's right.
So
5 new fish. Yeah, I mean,
So it does work, and you just got to be organized. You got to, you can't light cars on fire. You got to just go and intelligently make your case.
right.
And politicians, I mean,
I'm out if I can't light cars on fire.
Well, I can't
but I mean, politicians see that many people, in one place caring about something, and it matters.
Right.
So
I
Jack,
think the day's coming.
yeah. So what is let's say 6-month plan? What do you see happening? What is Hatchery and Wild Coexist goal over that, let's say 6 months to a year? Is it to gain more leverage with support, or is it to share the science? What do you see happening in the next 6 months in Hatchery and Wild, and best case scenario, where would you like to see it?
Well, I would say that I couldn't imagine it's been as successful as it has been so far.
Right.
And I mean, every day, my phone's pinging off the hook. People are contacting us. We're putting together the numbers, which is important, and funding to, respond to studies, do more studies, go back and read, like studies that were done, just like the Clackamas study. It was done 20, 25 years ago. So you go back and check the empirical data and say, how'd that work out?
Right.
And it didn't. So, all that proves is removing those summer steelhead were for nothing. But,
Nothing, and nothing.
But you got to keep doing that until it sticks. And the politicians, that was one of the things they really liked, was having that ammunition.
Sorry, we had to delete a terrible comment on there. But did you?
Did you delete it?
I did not. I can't on my phone. Real fast. Did you tell what river that was on? What you were just telling Jordan about the study that was just published in December?
Clackamas,
The
yeah.
Clackamas.
Yeah.
The Clackamas River. That's volumes there, because I mean, I didn't really fish the Clackamas back,
That's right.
late 90s and 2000s. Down a little bit, down from your cursor, right there. There you go. Anyways, you can't have that good of a fishery go away. For how many of you guys fished it? Because I mean, I never fished it, but it sounded like it wasn't a matter of when you were gonna. It was a matter if you were gonna catch them. It was a matter of when.
Everybody I went to high school with, first thing you did when you got out of school or out of work is you went up to Upper Clackamas and caught a steelhead. I mean,
Right.
It was like a gateway fishery. I mean, it got...
A good friend of mine lived in a cave up there for like 6 months of his life. Yeah.
Not surprised you're gonna hear it, buddy. Not surprised.
You talk to people my age, and all of them guys that are... And if you go out fishing, there's a lot of guys my age fishing now. And a lot of them, that's where they got their start, was on
that Clackamas
that
River.
fishery.
And so they took it away, 3 parental generations, and we thought we were going to get wild fish back. And what do we get? Nothing. And now that is proven. American Fisheries Society, peer-reviewed, 2 years.
Yeah.
Nail in the coffin. What do we do that for? Terrible. Go on.
Super chat.
Super chat.
Do you believe the tribes are doing enough hatchery work to justify their gill netting?
I'm not a big fan of gill netting, but if it wasn't for the tribes, we wouldn't have any fish on the Columbia. I mean...
So that's your answer right there. Absolutely.
That's their
Exactly.
tax, man.
I know where...
And I can tell you that we're getting contacted by the tribes. They have a whole different attitude about hatcheries than we do. I mean, than our agencies do, and they believe that
The tribes are the answer to millions of fish.
you need abundance to be successful. That's their belief.
I'm going to say it because I think it's interesting. I don't know where it's going to
Can't
go, but
forget
we've
it.
actually had a tribal member contact Hatchery and Wild Coexist over the Patagonia fish thing. And I don't know, like I said, it's interesting. A lot of people are paying attention to that.
Yeah.
And I think within the
Very quickly.
within the tribal politics, I'm not traversed in tribal politics, but like Jack said, if they weren't in the Columbia, I know where my bread's buttered. Right? I mean, they do a substantial amount of planting, research, and stuff for the Columbia. But now I know there's other streams that they gill net that they don't do any hatchery supplementation in. And so, like, if you look at some of the Puget Sound stuff, but like I said, from where we're at, they're paramount. And they're the ones that are taking the risks on some of these
And they do the kind of
operations,
the leading studies, and they go out and find ways to do things better. And
because they're held accountable to it. Because if the tribes don't get fish back, they don't get a big harvest. They don't get they have accountability in it.
Well, a lot of, and on a larger scale, I've spent a lot of time on reservations, and on a larger scale, in a lot of these areas, their economy completely depends on it.
I was gonna say their lives are bound.
Economy.
They don't have jobs there. There's no mills. There's no grocery store to work at. There's nothing. These people have fished for millennia for these fish, and they have the right, and they were given the right in 1855 by a treaty with the states that these fish will always be there for them. And see what, and look at their initiative, and look at how they manage their practice, and look at the benefits of it.
That's a great comment, Scott.
You're going to have to read it.
Scott, okay, sorry. So, Scott, to answer the person asking about the tribes, now that first time that we got a voice at the PST, largely because the tribe sat down and got on the PST Council, which, for those of you guys that don't know, PST is Pacific Salmon Treaty, that's where a lot of our Chinook go up north in the commercial fisheries.
I have a friend that was on that panel, and he said the negotiations weren't going all that well, and the tribes kind of put their foot down, and it actually ended up way better for us than it looked like it was going to, or than it used to be.
It used to be. So, a step in the right direction because of the tribes. So, man, what was your question, Marl?
I don't remember now.
Sorry. Yeah, the tribes depend on them catching fish. They know how to do it. States don't depend on it, so they half work it and let the sportsmen complain.
But we still buy a license.
It's pretty easy to make money there.
It's hard because I hate the state. I hate the state ripping because I know there's within some of the state organizations they're only allowed to work with inside the box.
Their hands are tied.
The parameters are set by NOAA and NIMFs.
Well, that's why politically and through education we got to change what the agencies are doing, because whether we like the agencies, don't like the agencies, bitch about them or don't, they're in charge.
They're doing it. They're the ones.
They're
feeding the little fish in the pond.
They're
right?
in charge.
Right.
We're not gonna all go out and start a hatchery and change things. We're gonna have to change it through.
Maybe we could. Addicted hatcheries.
You can't bucket them all in there as well, because there's some people in the agencies that are doing great things.
Yeah.
Amazing
for our
things.
fisheries.
Many of them.
And that's why I said I don't like to get on this
There's actually the majority.
Yeah,
Exactly.
right. I don't want to get on this let's rip the state, because they are constrained either by money or by NOAA. And like Kevin Gray, he's watching out there too.
Say a river like the river that you've managed for years in Tillamook. Why are they only putting 150,000 fish in there? Why can't they put more?
They don't need to. It's like it's steelhead fishing most years it's as good as it could get. How many do you have to catch?
100 in a day.
I want to do what we did up on the tribal lad. I ain't gonna lie.
That's what that's what. Yeah.
I'm curious.
And Ben was there when we caught a hunt. Yeah. Really, but could they make it if organizations?
They could. First of all, there's a finite number of wild fish. If you're using wild fish for broodstock, you can't just wipe out the whole wild run and put it in a hatchery.
True.
So it's. There are parameters.
But why? But why 150? Why not 300,000?
But it could be. I know they're actually talking 140,000, and on this year was a slower year. But a lot of times there's. In the lower 8 miles of the Wilson, there's like 50 boats, and they're all getting double-digit fish.
Well, that's the problem because the Wilson's the only one doing it.
Right.
That's spread those soccer fields out, but
exactly. There needs to be more places doing it. That would have been like when I.
So instead of having one river that had 800,000, it'd be better to have four
that had 150,000. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you got to remember too that the wild broodstock fish are returning at that 3 to 6% rate instead of under 1%. So 150,000 of them is like 300,000.
Right. Of what we used to do. Yeah.
And they spread out over a whole season instead of a month and a half.
That's right, because that was one thing. I'll just say it on the river that I steelhead fish incessantly. That early hatchery run, there was actually quite a few that came back to it. They all arrived in a week.
Right.
And guess how many we caught?
And if you're
none, they're gone.
And if
third week of December, they were done.
When I used in the 70s, back then, I used to leave the coast the middle of February because the hatchery run was over. And if you had a year like this year, or not this year, I guess it was last year, but when you get a lot of high water in that early part of the year, your whole run was gone during a high.
Yeah, they're not seeking gravel. They're seeking that hatchery weir, and once they're in there, you ain't catching them.
Yeah, it was a bad system. This is much better. I just wish they did it more places.
What is Hatchery and Wild's association with CCA?
CCA has given it part of the funding. I mean, the right now the major funders are CCA and North Coast Salmon Seal Enhancement Fund. But other than that, it's a separate entity.
So when people say that Hatchery and Wild is just CCA, like sheep in wolf's clothing.
Well,
I mean, I can't. Well, then I would have to ask, what is it about what Hatchery and Wild Coexist is fighting for that you don't like? Because at the end of the day, I don't give a rip if it's CCA
What
or
I've
Steelheaders
heard
or
is that
anybody.
It's an initiative to rally people and money for an organization that will not put the people and the money in the Northwest, that they'll use.
So
it
the
for
people and the money
for other things. So
I mean,
basically, I play devil's advocate just like you asked me.
I know that, and there's a whole bunch of misstatements you're making there. First of all the money that comes into Hatchery and Wild goes into a side account of the North Coast Salmon Seal Enhancement Fund. It's
It goes to that 501c3.
I mean, CCA's involvement has been their management committee voted to put $10,000 in that account. I mean, they have had no say in how it's managed.
Basically, they gave a donation,
Right.
so to speak.
Exactly. That's what I'm trying to get you to explain to people.
Yeah, that money doesn't go.
This a lot.
And even
that
within
people say basically what's happening here is CCA is looking for another membership drive. They're trying to drive membership to their thing.
If you join,
I could give you the name of the guy that's saying that.
Yeah, me too. But honestly, though, if you join Hatchery and Wild Coexist,
And
you're
he's full of
joining
manure.
a separate campaign and a separate entity where the money is going to a different. Your 501c3, right?
The North Coast Rendezvous is a
Yeah,
501.
that's where the money is going. North Coast
That's where all
Rendezvous,
the money's.
or the North Coast Salmon. Sorry.
That guy called me up
Yeah.
on the phone and chewed me out for a half hour, and then wasn't even brave enough to stay on the phone for me to answer him back.
Oh man, Brandon Hagan, I would love to answer this. How do we get a broodstock program in Region 5 Washington? Believe it or not, there actually are going on right now. There's a couple of them, and it's just because it's not the type of broodstock program that you are seeing, like where you're seeing sport collection, because it's a lot of weir collection, dam collection kind of stuff. But yeah, I would like to see them more robust though. Yeah, call Region 5.
Nate Downey,
Yeah.
HatcheryWildCoexist.com. Go on there, sign up, make a donation, put your email, your phone number.
So what's stopping using broodstock programs on more rivers than the Wilson? That's a good question.
Well, I mean, they're just push and,
Push.
support local areas. I mean, it took us 10 years to talk them into doing it on the Wilson. 10 years of badgering. So it just was, and going through the list of why can't we do this? And then it'd be like, well, we don't have room. Well, let's build your room. Well, we don't have, and then we don't have money. Well, we'll raise your money. So just answering all those questions until they had nothing they could do but say yes. And then it started out, it started out with 50,000 fish, and then it's kind of gradually switched the stock, over to, it's the same number of fish, just a better stock.
So let me ask you this: where do we hire these scientists to go out and do these studies? Like, who is the credible individuals that write up a study and it actually is held legible in court?
What happened on the Clackamas study was PGE hired a guy to see, how did removing those summer steelhead, how that work out, and they went out looking for funding, and the North Coast Salmon Seal Enhancement Fund kicked in $40,000 and said we'll pay for half of it because we think it'd be really real cool to see that. Mm-hmm. And you can't, if it's good science, you can't buy it. They're going to go look into something and they're going to come up with what the answer is, but at least then you know what the answer is.
Yeah, that's just the thing. Science is evolutionary, and that's the hardest part when having this conversation. I feel like is you can't statistically, logistically, you can't have 1 to 5 gentlemen go out on a river who are considered scientists, who are very well educated, well-rounded, scientific, people in the community, and take their word as the lay of the land. Like, that's the hardest part about this, and that's why it is frustrating to see these studies that have been used against us and all this stuff. I mean, who is this guy? What fish told him this stuff? How many days in these surveys? How many does he record? How many days he was on the river? Does he record how many feet he walked in the river? How many pieces of gravel that he over?
A lot of them are like year studies, right? They spend years sometimes.
Some of them. I mean, like the quarter study on the Clackamas, I think it was since 1950 something. And that's kind of a unique situation where they had a dam and they could actually count fish, and before the summer steelhead program and after the summer steelhead program, they had empirical data. That's also part of the problem. Is a lot of the studies use modeling, and modeling you plug in your bias into it. I mean, it's like you get to this point and it's like, well, we're noticing this. Was it this or was it hatchery fish? Well, we don't like hatchery fish, so it's hatchery fish.
Right.
I mean, so there's some of that.
It's easy to wave the flag, yeah. All right, Cam, go ahead.
First of all, thanks for the super chat.
Thanks for the super chat, Dakota. And that, how effective would it be if there was a broodstock program on East Fork Lewis River to get more fish in that river, hatchery or wild stocks? I don't know if that's, there's a lot, seems like that would be a pretty logical choice. They used to put 260,000 hatchery fish in there.
Yeah, do your research on that river if you want to.
There's one caveat.
Never recover.
There's one caveat.
itself.
There's one caveat to the East Fork of Lewis River, which it's a Washington Fish and Wildlife Gene Bank study, but in the NIMS report that there is no, I can't remember the exact terminology for it, but within that river and all those 6 gene bank rivers, the East Fork Lewis had no distinct
population
genetic marker or something like that. Basically, that it was kind of a hodgepodge. Which, if that's the case, first off, I don't know why it's a no-touched, no-plant, keep your hands off at gene bank river to begin with. And yeah, that's a damn good question. And I don't know. I would say that, to me, that's the holy grail. And have you ever heard of a broodstock program going into a river? So are you familiar with, we'll talk it, I don't care. East Fork.
I am familiar. I used to fish it when
No
I was a kid.
hatchery. Used to dump almost, 250,000 smolts in there every year.
Sometimes more.
Have you ever heard of a broodstock program where they'd go to a river, pull some of those wild fish out, go to hatchery, but then don't clip them, and then put them back in just to get that bump and that egg to smolt survival? Has there ever been a situation that you've come across where they've done something like that to actually use the hatchery, use the broodstock, pull the wild genetics into hatchery, bump it?
The tribes do that with salmon, I know.
Yeah. Okay.
On the, I think it's Johnson Creek or...
Because I understand harvest is important, but let's be honest. Let's talk winter steelhead.
Well, one
Everything
of the
will
cool things
harvest.
that I learned that I think you could do that on that river is, like, if you look at what Kevin Gray's been doing on these vlogs that we're about to put out, they spawn these fish, then they go and they release the fish, and then a lot of times those fish go spawn in the river naturally after they just spawned in the hatchery.
I caught one.
Yeah.
Kevin had touched 2 days before, and I caught it 23 miles upriver.
They don't kill. That's the other thing. Yeah, and so you don't kill. And so on top of that, you're right. You don't kill those wild steelhead, and you put them back. And so then they have a chance to even return again. And I've
caught like 3 or 4 on the Wilson and the Nestucca that came back another year.
Yeah. And how can you tell that Floyd tag?
They put a tag on it.
Yeah. So those are fish that were brought into broodstock programs, strip spawned, released back in the river, hens and bucks, went out to the ocean.
That's freaking amazing.
So when you wash artificial, in the first 30 seconds they're chopping these salmon's heads off, and there's some guard watching over the whole freaking place, and that's not what happens, people. That's not what happens.
On the Nestucca and Wilson, all the wild fish are spawned, live spawn.
Yeah. So you take the East Fork, back to the East Fork. You take them, take 40 pair into hatchery, get a whole bunch more smolt out of it. Try it. Die trying.
I've said that for years, and I
know.
Some fishermen that I fish around all the time, and I've had this argument with, and I say, you know what, guys? Do we really have to be that ignorant? Do we really just have to stop clipping these fish and you'll shut up? Because we all know. We could all stand here, however many 300 and some people that are watching this, we all know if we raised as many hatchery fish as we wanted to, didn't clip them, this artificial movie would never exist.
I meant those.
We wouldn't even know.
I meant those as far as let's face it, like winter steelhead. Like let's say you do something on you do a broodstock program under the guise that you actually just want to recover the fish. You don't need to harvest them.
Right.
So for the first couple of years, you don't clip them.
But
We're already fishing non-clipped fish in
and
those
that's,
rivers.
I mean, that's what they did with Sockeye and Redfish Lake. I mean,
right. Sockeye and Redfish Lake, there was 4.
Yeah.
Now they have many.
Some years, gajillions.
Yeah, gajillions of them. They started with 4. That was a broodstock program.
I mean, I told you, maybe it was you. I mean, earlier I was telling you guys about the Sandy. I mean, in the 1960s, the spring chinook run on the Sandy was down to 160 fish. That was the average return. And in the 70s, they brought a bunch of hatchery fish over from the Clackamas, put them in the Sandy, and the run boosted up between 2,000 and 3,000, pretty steady. And then you had the lawsuit, and they reduced the amount of hatchery. So they're taking hatchery fish off of fish that they created.
And claiming wild.
It's crazy.
And then saying that these hatchery fish don't make wild fish.
And every time that happens, what happens? You all lose opportunity.
And the
What
run
do you
goes
got,
down.
Oh my God! Ron's like back here raising his hand, and then I go, okay, what do you got? And he goes,
I think
Well,
that's.
you guys normally babble for like 10 minutes, and by that time I'm already on to something.
I think
your
there's,
ADD is bad, bud.
there's something in that chicken that's not.
Yeah.
Spicy
Nate,
chicken.
that's a good question. Curious if Hatchery Wild is more focused in Washington or Oregon.
No, that's a good catch. Yeah.
Yeah, I think we focus wherever.
Wherever they touch. Whatever
It's a regional political.
How
No.
easy is it? Not. I know it's not easy, but you did it right. So if there's anglers watching that say live in the Puget Sound, or who knows where they live, right? Maybe they have a river in their backyard. Could they potentially go figure out a way to broodstock that river themselves, just like?
You couldn't do it yourself because you have to have permission from the agencies.
But they could go fight and get permits and
But
do
they-
their own things.
Where did they have on the Olympic Peninsula? They had a broodstock program on the Olympic Peninsula before we did.
Snyder.
Yeah, Snyder Creek,
Yeah.
and they lost their permit for the pond.
So that's what I wonder is how many little, like, maybe we rally together sectors and we just start rootstock programs all over the place.
No, before you sector out, you get one giant platform and giant group of people that can start changing this narrative legislatively, and once you get there, then you start doing that. Then you start going after those programs.
I'm gonna go make
This is
my own
first.
I'm going to go make my own.
Well, you go make your own fish.
Because I think that's good.
Yeah.
I absolutely 100% agree with you. That is long term and for the future of our fisheries.
As
Hatchery
sport, there
Wild
is 600,000 salmon tags issued either at Oregon or Washington. I can't remember which state. And we don't have a fish advocacy group over 3,700 people?
somewhere around
What the
there.
hell?
That's insane.
I mean, if you think about 3,700 people to 600,000, that's less than 0.5% of you. That's insane. Of salmon, now I just get it. There's a lot of non-residents that fly in and go fish with us and stuff like that, but they still want fish to catch too. So you need to tell them as well.
Well, you think about it too. You know, say 6-7 years ago when I really started going hard and guiding in the fishing industry. Buoy 10, Columbia River. People were not going to Alaska to go fish with you at Buoy 10. Like this is a destination fishery, and we've weaned ourselves off of it. We've killed the economic base in the Northwest with lawsuits like this and with private interest groups taking action more so than we are. This place is a mecca. You know, 15 years ago, the Cowlitz River, Southwest Washington, the largest economical force was tourism and fishing. The Cowlitz, the Kalama, everything that revolved around this area was a destination. There was more steelhead returning to these rivers than anywhere in the world, and now it's gone. And nobody, and these groups cannot seem to grasp the economic potential of a fishery, a bountiful fishery. That
Well,
we
the
have.
problem
will.
important is most of them don't care about that. Most of these guys do.
They'd rather have you on
They
food
wanna
stamps.
Walk up to the river and be like, "Wow, look at that steelhead swimming in the river! It's amazing."
And then
if they see one in 10 years, they're stoked about it.
And then
That's
you got-
how these guys are. It's crazy.
Yeah.
They don't have as long as they just know they're there.
Yeah, as long as they just know they're there. That's a perfect way to describe it.
But they don't understand that, they also like seeing orcas. They also like seeing sea lions. Like, I hate to say it. But guess what feeds all those orcas and damn sea lions?
Yeah.
And they really like those because they're like got flippers and cute little beady eyes and shit.
Hey, I like them. To say that I don't.
I
think
love
they're
Free
cool,
Willy
dude,
growing up,
they're
man. That was my favorite show.
Regardless, if they want to see them, we better put some damn salmon in because we've destroyed their habitat. Blah blah blah. Yep.
We should make a Free Willy 3. Death of the Orcas.
I mean, you are right. It's like I remember when I first started guiding in 1978. I took people from all over the world fishing, and now it's like mostly localized. And most of that is because you're not gonna come out here to fish the Columbia and you get here on Thursday and they close it on Friday.
Yeah.
And you're gonna do that about one time, and then you're not vacationing here again.
Well, what really burns my ass on it too is what I see from the clash from the other side of this. The people that back this anti-hatchery movement are the people that can afford a $30,000 helicopter trip to their favorite destination in the world. Not the guy who works a 9-to-5 job and makes $12 an hour and wants to take his kid fishing. And I don't see how anybody can even take sides with these guys, because this is what's happening. This is what's happening. It's the 1% against the rest of us.
How many millions have lost? I mean,
And it's sad. These guys, everybody that's against us in this are going to keep fishing.
The difference is it just feels good. It's feel-good politics at its finest.
Yeah.
If they can sell a narrative and they can push a bunch of bullshit stuff saying that if they remove all these hatchery fish, that the rivers are going to fill with wild fish, then I say give me one example where that's happened. Can you give me one example?
There isn't one.
Sal.
There isn't one. There
I mean,
isn't one.
if
So
you
if you want to feel good about something, die trying.
I mean,
Do something.
If you ask that question in Oregon, they would say that the Oregon coastal coho have recovered pretty well since they removed hatchery fish, but they also did the largest habitat improvements in the history of the Northwest. And
They cut the commercial fishery out of
how's the water people
They
doing? That's all I want to
They
know.
caught
They're loving
harvest
the
and
heck out
nothing.
of it.
and they were
aren't
being
they?
harvested at 80%.
Right.
So I'd say that had more to do with it than.
Yeah. All right. What do we got here?
What's next, boys?
What's next?
We giving
boys?
away a reel?
I think we should give away a
It's
reel.
about time.
We've been on here for an hour and a half.
Shoot, we almost have how many people do we have between the two streams? I know there's over 400 earlier. Is that between the two of them, Clint, or is that just Facebook? Does that combine them both?
Yeah.
Perfect. Wow. There's a lot of guys watching tonight. We appreciate you guys watching, guys, because this is super duper important. Yeah. Let's see here. And there was a ton of other questions, guys, and like I said, we didn't get to all of them. We're just kind of running through, trying to keep it on topic a little bit, which is tough to do, as you guys know if you've watched this show before. But hatchery-wild-coexist.com. It's up there on your guys' screen again. Subscribe to their emailing list. We're going to be doing a bunch of huge stuff, and we will have that content for you guys that you can start changing the narrative to all those other people out there that need to know. What are we doing?
Let's give away this reel back to the same
It's
guy.
not going to be to Kyle Dickey.
Thanks for coming in.
Yeah,
It's not gonna be
Jack,
the Kyle
thank you
Dickey.
so much for all your hard work,
Thanks
man.
for having me.
We're going to win this thing.
Again,
It's gonna be
you guys, Jack Smith. Any fishing trips or anything? Could anybody get in a boat with you and go catch some of these brood style? I mean, what's the deal?
I'm kind of on paid leave.
Paid leave. Got it. Wise man.
I said that wrong. I'm on semi-retirement.
Semi-retirement.
We'll take
so. In other words, you're just fishing with the guys you've been fishing with for 40 years, huh?
Yeah, I won't be fishing again until probably the middle of May.
Middle May. Gotcha. Must be nice. Good job. Congrats. Heck yeah. All right, guys. Who's our winner?
No, we're cutting.
We're cutting and then we'll come back.
Oh, we're
right.
cutting and we're coming back. We got to make sure Kyle Dickey doesn't win another prize. Dude, that was
Oh my god.
There he is! There he is! No!
It's huge. Every time he head shakes, dude, I can just.
Oh dude, here we go. Oh, he just freaking flew out of the water.
You're back.
Oh, we are? I can't see myself. That's amazing.
Oh, that's no fun. Yes, guys. Quick before we give this away, if you haven't yet, go on to addicted.fishing. Buy your tickets.
I already know what's going to happen because we've sold full 100% transparency. We have about 250 right now filled seats. So there's about 130 left. So do not wait until the last minute. What are you talking
Sorry,
about?
I did the numbers. I thought it was less than 100.
There's three. We can sell 380 seats.
Okay.
250
100 left.
What? Yeah.
Just don't be the guy that waits till the last minute.
Don't be the guy at the door because you're not getting in.
Well, and like we said before, guys, this is going to be the only time, unless you have a massive TV in your house, that you'll be able to see this on the. And that was special last
party.
time. It was cool.
It was
Yeah,
so
these
fun.
Seeing it on the big screen, especially with the 4K that we recorded in a lot of this.
And the premiere, guys, like I've said a couple times, is not just a movie. There's going to be all sorts. We got a couple Colin coolers we're giving away,
Couple
fishing
other little
rods.
short films
We have a special short film that you'll get to see
premiered.
before the film as well. So there's a lot of cool stuff. So we really hope you guys can make it. Also, I wanted to say we have a couple giveaways coming up next week. A couple addicts out there have actually purchased tickets and then given them back to us to give to a couple lucky people. So
These were guys that purchased them before they knew the dates, and I know we had to play that game with you guys, and we apologize, but through their generosity, you guys. Well, actually, no. You all should have bought your tickets, but maybe you'll win tickets that you can bring your friend or somebody who doesn't know.
Yeah. Addicted.fishing. Make sure you guys get your tickets.
Mic drop.
And Clint, throw up a winner for this reel.
Alright, coming at you. Hang on. I can't post comments because it's busted, so stand by.
Stand by. Who's it going to be? Who is it going to be?
Donna.
I sell, in fact, I actually went to school, and then I stuck the fish.
Yeah, you guys should just let me talk when it comes to that stuff and just
Hey, why don't you announce the winner? It's up there. Congratulations.
Justin Whited, man, you won yourself an Okuma Cold Water Low Pro, couple Hatchery and Wild stickers. Shoot us an email to orders@addicted.fishing.
Dunk tank swim with
you
the
guys,
sailings.
the pre-sale tickets are not available anymore, so just go to the website addicted.fishing, www.addicted.fishing, and click the shop tab. The pre-sale tickets were long gone a long time ago. Anyone who got tickets up to a certain point, so we had like a first round. We had like a first round of tickets for sale on pre-sale, general admission, and VIP. In the first round, we had a special gift, like basically a commemorative gift for Addicted Alaska, and a limited edition one. Those are now gone, completely gone. So now it's on to the second round. So the price is lowered a little bit on the tickets. They're not as much as they were the first time because the gift is now gone. So go to the website, addicted.fishing. Don't use the pre-sale. Do not use the pre-sale
Jack
link.
said he's going to be there.
Jack's coming, sweet.
Jack's coming.
Justin, send us an email. Anything else, dude? Anything else? You guys got any trips coming up?
Yeah, I'm going to start right about the first week of May. I'm going to start doing my spring Chinook and summer Steelhead combo trips. So get at me at that. It's going to fill
Please
up
take
fast.
me this year.
Yeah, I'm trying to get some stuff done before next week,
take
but it'll go hot and heavy from mid-May all the way through July till we run out of water. So
And that's like bobber and egg fishing. What
bobber
kind of
and
stuff are
egg,
you doing?
spinners, beads. I mean, we're going after multiple species in the day, so it's just about everything you can imagine.
They hit you up on Facebook
Yep,
or what?
Facebook, Addicted Guides, Addicted.Fishing, 168 Fishing Adventures.
What are
Cam's
you
fully
doing?
booked.
He's not fully booked.
No,
Aren't you doing some kokanee
I
stuff?
got some kokanee stuff second week of May, and then just intermixed Springer stuff next couple weeks. Yeah, I'm pretty
You guys want to get out fishing? Give these guys a call. It's
But
always
kokanee was banging though. I was so happy to see it. Just is fun.
cool.
So
Cool.
you guys want a good kokanee trip anytime May, early June, and then after that it's
Yummy.
bottom fish and salmon,
Bottom
baby.
salmon.
Woo, Coho.
All right, guys. Thanks so much for tuning in. Do not forget, now's the time that everyone gets off of this live feed, and when they're done, they go directly to this website. So Clint, throw it up. There's how many people watching, Clint? There's still 300 of you, so 300 of you are going to this website right now. As soon as we cut this off, and you're gonna. What happened?
He said kokanee sucked today.
Oh,
Who? He said kokanee sucked today.
Justin Virgin?
you guys are distracting
I don't
me.
know.
This is so distracting.
Yeah, isn't it annoying?
Can't even have
Don't you like
Can't
that?
even have.
Don't you like
can't even-
that?
Just go to Hatchery and Wild Coexist. Thanks so much, guys.
Thank you guys.
Later, guys.
See ya.
Get him. Got him. Attaboy.
Oh, pretty fish.
Oh! Why the hell are we losing them all? Oh! It's exactly what we were looking for.
Dude,
Look at that fish.
force.
Oh, that's a huge one. And it's thrown. Oh, that's a monster.
That's a freaking stud. Get on your leg. Oh, that was a giant, guys.
What's going on, Marlon? Did you just maybe hook the biggest fish of your life on a bead?
We're getting him, Jordan. We're getting him.
Oh my God, Marlon.
You cannot complain about an 18-pound steelhead.
Woo, yeah. Woo, that was a freaking pain. Oh my God.
Whew.
It's a beast.
Got a double.
Look at those perfect specimens.
It's probably one of the most amazing fishing days I've ever had in my entire life.